Welcome everybody, welcome to 88RC. Today we're looking at the GMade 1905 crawler tire. A 1.75 by 4.75 by a 1.8 inch tire on a 1.9 beadlock. The 1905 is a relatively newer offering from GMade. Coming out within the last year or two. Prior to that, GMade tires are always kind of hit or miss. They've got some good ones. The 1904 is our other class 2 size tire. It's a pretty good one. But then I think the 1901 is trash. The 1903 I think is decent, which are both smaller tires, like class 1 size, maybe slightly larger than class 1. So it'll be interesting to see how the 1905 performs. Today we're running on the foams that the 1905 comes with, and it is worth noting that on this rig, the wheels that we're running with these tires, they are a narrower offset than a lot of the other beadlocks I have, and so the track width of the truck is going to be slightly affected by that. We lose 4 millimeters in total, 2 mil on each side. And I'm going to have to try to keep that in mind with things like side hilling, because the track width of your truck does affect stability on side hill. Couple that with the fact that these tires are running a relatively soft single stage open cell foam, and I'm a little bit nervous to see how it does on side hilling, but we're going to see right now, because our first obstacle is a good side hill test. So coming on to obstacle number 1 now. I feel like I really need to mark on the grounds here somehow on where to set my camera, because I feel like you get a different angle on every video slightly, which isn't a big deal, but I would like it to be as consistent as possible. Now already I can tell on those foams, they allow a lot of compliance on this tire. Getting on that rock, I could see the compliance on that driver rear. It really allowed it to grip the edge of that rock. Now let's see if that's going to be too much of a impact on side hill. I can see the driver front tire has a little bit of rollover, but not too much. The driver rear has none, and now I can see, as I'm trying to turn up the rock, that driver front that sidewall is crushing down. Sometimes with a single stage foam, this isn't a big issue with a tire that has a thicker carcass. The 1905 is not exactly a thin carcass, but it's not that thick either. There is no ribbing and belting in the tire, or is there? I don't think there's ribbing and belting in the tire. I can't remember. I should start keeping notes on when I check that when I mount these. But we are seeing some sidewall collapse. I am seeing the front of the truck is getting very light now. We're going to roll out. If I keep going up, yep, there's the rollout coming right there. The passenger front tire is now kicked up off the ground. So we're going to try to reverse out of trouble and recover so the truck doesn't roll off the obstacle, and turn back up. Yep, if that rear can slide. So one good thing that we're not seeing is we're not seeing a lot of side slide, which means there's a rollout. Lug and compound are good. The issue again right now is mostly going to be with that foam and the inability of the sidewall to hold up. Loose gravel test right now, or loose soil test rather, as we get back to the obstacle. I know it's off camera, but it did pretty well there. No major issues. Slight hesitation, but nothing concerning. It looks like it handles the loose surface very well. Coming back onto the rock now, we're going to go ahead and take the higher line, knowing that sidewall is going to collapse. The higher line is not quite as steep, and we don't have to turn up as far, but already I can see the passenger side of the front end getting light. I can see that driver side front tire rolling over. So we're going to go ahead and baby that up. There we go. There we go. So in instances like this, is that a pass or a fail? Well, it's still a pass because it did the side hill. I have this whole obstacle to work with. I don't have a gate or a specific line chosen. So it's still a pass, but I just take note that it didn't do as well as some other tires. Now, what I am seeing with this tire is it's gripping really well. It's not sliding, and so my opinion is that the side hill performance right now is 100% due to the foam. So I can already tell you that this is probably going to be a tire that no matter how it does today, I'm going to want to run again on a dual stage foam, maybe even a 3D insert, and see how it does. Now, it's not lost on me that, like I said, I lost a couple millimeters in track width. That's going to affect the stability of the truck itself. So we are dealing with a couple issues there in the side hill. This truck weighs about 7 pounds. So, average weight of a rig, it's not extremely heavy. But again, the foam's just not holding up great on the sidewall. It's not collapsing a ton, but it's collapsing just enough to where it's making positioning on the side hill difficult. It will side hill straight across without issues. You're not getting a lot of sliding to the side, so that's good. But once you start trying to reposition, the sidewalls just can't hold up and collapse. That rollout was partially my fault, partially a little bit of instability on the rig. But since we rolled out again, let's go ahead and get on camera how the tire performs in loose soil. Again, this is very loose dirt. And we unhook the slider and pull up without any drama. GMade 1905s are about $25 for a pair. And again, they do come with a foam. They come with your standard single cell open stage foam. It's relatively soft. Nothing important to note there. Already, I do believe that the 1905 could benefit from a dual stage foam. From what I've seen so far, I think we've got good forward drive. I think we've got good lateral grip. I think we're just lacking sidewall support. So with the dual stage foam, I believe that if we can get a little bit more sidewall support, I think that this would do the side hill obstacle up there with some of the better tires. So again, I do think at some point I might test a dual stage insert with this tire, because from what I've seen in the very short amount of time I've driven it, it's got good potential on that side hill. Now coming up to our second real obstacle, we're going to test the forward drive of the tire, as well as a little bit of positionability on an incline. So let's take the easy entry first, which is up on this guy. Ooh, pretty good grip. Little bit of slide back there, nothing too concerning. I'm going to go ahead and get back onto the obstacle using the line that I said last time. Maybe not last time. I've said before that I won't take this line. This line can be an axle snapper, but with a taller tire, it's not as big of a problem. Although I do think that line might be responsible for my servo starting to fail. I've said now in several videos that I need to replace this 9-mod servo. For you, these videos are coming weeks apart. For me, so far, I've been recording them on the same day, or the same couple days, same weekend. So we're gonna take there we go. Let's take the difficult entry on. Okay, can we slow crawl? Can't hook that ledge. Front suspension's unloaded. Nothing to push off of on the rear. We're just gonna spin on the rock. So, will wheel speed do the trick? Yes, it will. Once again, able to do the difficult entry with wheel speed. Very similar performance on this obstacle as the Power Harvey Armor. Really looks similar to the Armor in terms of how it's handling this obstacle. However, the lug and tire couldn't really be more different. The Armor is a very chevroned lug. This is a very kind of crawler-esque lug, like a BF Goodrich crawler. Doesn't mimic a crawler, but you know, has that square lug rock crawlers type look to it. And right up there with no drama at all. Pretty good showing on that obstacle from the 1905. GMade is a Korean company, if you're not aware. They make some pretty cool rigs. They sell one with cantilever rear suspension. They make some pretty neat stuff. They're a little more difficult to get parts for and stuff in the United States. Not really difficult. You just have to wait for them. You can order. They have a website, gmadeusa.com, I think it is, where they sell most of their stuff, and most of it is pretty quick to ship. But you don't find a lot of stuff on Amazon or GMade. I think you can buy their tires and their rigs on GMade, but replacement parts usually you got to get from their website. But GMade's a pretty good company. I like their products. Kind of a weird company. Ooh, that was bad driving. See if we can bump back on there. Kind of a interesting company. Like, their marketing materials are kind of weird. Their I don't know, their logo's kind of goofy. But you see that a lot with some of these other companies, these Korean companies and stuff. But I don't know, they probably sit around and talk about how weird American companies are. But GMade's not overly popular here in the United States. I've only seen a couple people in my local area that have GMade rigs. But they're fair ticed, and like I said, some of their tires are pretty good tires. The 1904 is another. It's more of a trail style tire than the 1905. I would say is more of a rock crawler style tire. But the 1904 is a good tire. 1905 struggling a little bit here to pull onto this obstacle. Let's reset and drive back up to it. Just moved a big rock out of the way, kind of on accident. What's needed here is for the lug to hook the corner of this rock without shuttling to the side. Might have to try a bump. A lot of tires have to bump onto this obstacle. If you don't have to bump, it's a really good indication of lug and conformity. But even with those soft foams, we're not getting the conformity to. Ooh, there we go. We had to kind of shuttle it back and forth a lot, but we got up there without having a bump. That's a good pass on that obstacle. Now we transition off the side hill. Coming towards us now. Two ways to take this line. You can cut up right here and go up this way, which is essentially taking flat ground, or we can come around here on the other side of this big rock, and it's a little more difficult of a line. It's a little more technical. We've got loose rocks underneath it that tend to slip, and if you don't have good stability, oh, that servo, I've lost all my balls. If you don't have good stability, you can roll out. 9i mod 50 kg still continuing to give me some issues. We're gonna have to get that replaced as soon as I get home. We come to our next obstacle. If we can do it without shoving the front of the truck into the rock. In this obstacle, we want to transition down to this rock and then exit on a side hill. We have to turn in early so that we don't shove the front into the rock that we're just gonna clear. Oh my, losing that steering. I've got about 20 degrees steering angle I'm missing, it appears, when turning towards driver. Checked the truck after the last run, and Everything mechanically looks good. The servo horn's intact. All the linkage is intact. There's nothing weird going on. I think we're just starting to see a servo fail, which is not overly surprising. It is a budget servo from, I mean, it's 9i mod, but I would also call it basically a no name. Although I see it a lot under the name Flash Hobby. I think 9i mod and Flash Hobby might be the same thing. But it's an inexpensive servo. This truck gets run more than any of my other rigs because it's what I use to test tires and sometimes other parts on. So that servo's been in the truck for a little more than a year, and it has got a lot of hours on it. So it's around I think it's less than $50. So I would recommend the servo, and who knows, maybe I can rebuild it or there's something else going on. But right now it's giving me problems. So up and onto there without any issues. There's another pass. See if I can adjust the camera just slightly. Now we need to shuttle. Ooh, I took this line wrong. We have to reverse. I took that line very wrong. I picked up the camera and started focusing on that instead of driving. Something that I do a lot of when I've got the camera in my hand. I need to go set the camera down. Alright, I think I got the tripod positioned. If anybody can recommend to me a tripod that expands to 60 inches or so high and has legs on it that will automatically conform to uneven surfaces, I would be very interested in that. And it needs to automatically conform. I can adjust this one to kind of conform to it, but it's manual and it takes time. I would like to be able to just set something down on an uneven surface and it work. That's a pass. A little more drama involved there than I would have hoped. But I think between me not getting the line right and having to reset, there could have been a fair amount of driver error involved in that. So far, the 1905 has made it through all of our obstacles without any issue, which is always a good thing to see. As we transition up here and start driving towards our next obstacle. Yeah, it's a good showing of a loose surface climb. Oops. All right, we'll transition down here. Kind of walk this little valley a little bit. Slide down there. And then what we're relying on there is exactly what happened. We want the tire to slide enough to get me down off the obstacle, but not so much that it causes the rear end. Ooh. Oh. Took a reset there. I don't know what happened. There was a piece of dead brush sticking up there that I think might have got wrapped around my wheel. Could have been driver error, or it could have been the tire. We'll see right here. Now, there's that steering angle loss. Yeah, once there's no load, it's back. It's definitely a bad servo. So we want to slide down. There we go. That's what we want to see. That servo, that's unfortunate. That bothers me. Again, it doesn't bother me in a way that I would recommend against the 9i mod. But I try to be prepared and have spare parts with me, but I do not have a spare servo with me. So we're going to have to correct that. I'm about 2 hours away from my house, and I spend the weekend out here. And so I try to have spare parts because if something breaks, I don't really want to drive 2 hours back home, especially because then my kids are going to have a hard time letting me leave again. So things like this I need to learn from and make sure I get a spare servo, probably 2 spare servos, have one that's direct power and one that's receiver power, and just have them in the road kit just just in case we have failures like this. So this obstacle is our first really difficult obstacle. Ooh, the 1905 making short work of getting up on it. That's already more than a lot can do. Now, can we go any higher? Apply a little more wheel speed. What we need to do is get over to the right side of that rock and hook the tire on the edge of it to walk it up. Okay, might have got excited too soon. Let's use a little wheel speed. It's gonna get it. Be patient and careful with our driving. Oh, that's too much wheel speed. Now I'm hooked in on the bottom. This is one of those obstacles that changes a lot. Now there's rocks missing from the bottom. Hang on. I want to bring a little bit of quickcrete out here and inset those rocks on the bottom of this. I might just make some out of lake water and clay from the bottom of the lake. I think that'll be good enough. That'll be something natural that I can do. I am on public land. State park here in Kansas, where I do the majority of my crawling. I'm sure that this can do this. It's given me a little problem, but I just got to find the right line for this tire. So as I said when I tested the Power Hobby, sometimes I might be giving a tire more opportunities than I give a different tire. That's because I can tell that there's something in it. And what I really need, I think, to make this easier on this tire would be having, well, that's the bypass line in a sense. Having the shock bands back on the front of this truck, I think, would make this a little easier, that front suspension not unloading. But it should be able to. What I need to do is I need to get it over right there. There we go. Hook that corner and then walk it up. That's how we do that. I need to inset the rocks right there at the bottom. Right. These rocks there. I'm going to get some clay from the bottom of the lake and see if I can get those rocks to not move, because that's broken this obstacle several times. If those rocks aren't there, there's a gap big enough for the rear tire to fall in, and then it just whips the rig around. So that is another pass for what's probably the most difficult obstacle on this course. Man, that servo. Come down here. Nope, no. Lost. That was a loss of steering. We're going to reset, give it another chance. I'm losing steering towards the driver's side. I'm losing some steering angle, which is causing it to drive further straight down than I want. There we go. I'm going to call that a pass. We did roll out, but I think that was caused by the glitchy servo. If not, it got a free chance. Now, coming up on the obstacle that looks very easy, but it's a little more technical than you would think. It's not really a difficult line, but for tires that don't have the right grip in the right places, it can be, because the width of the truck does not fit all the way up this obstacle. Although, with these narrower bead locks, or the narrower track width of these bead locks, it makes it a little easier. Up there with no problem. All right, coming up to One of the last real difficult obstacles of the course, bringing a stick with us. We need to transition onto the incline. Ooh, and walk right up it. Look at that. GMade, no, oh. Now I get caught on the tree. GMade 1905, doing the thing. No! Okay. That was a combination of getting caught on that tree and driver error. So we're gonna ignore that. We're gonna come back on. What has happened? Now that damn rock moved. Let me fix the obstacle. All right. As you can see, there is some technical ways to get on here. There we go. Nope, no. Foam's a little too soft for this. A stiffer foam would mean that rear driver tire would not collapse as much. So I can't let off the throttle. There we go. GMade 1905. That's a pass. There is some difference in driving that with the 1905 than there is some other tires, mostly due to the foam. If you can see on that rear tire how much it allows it to bag, that's been part of the problem with some of these obstacles, and definitely impacted it here. It was affected by my driving as well. All right, this is an obstacle that's somewhat dependent on the normal track width of this truck. So we got up it. Let's see if it'll bump. All right, no drama, no issues. 1905 also doing this course a little bit quicker than some other tires do. It looks like we're on track to finish this video pretty quickly. Need to get the wheel speed to get over the top of that. There we go. So you get hooked on the links if you don't. There we go. All right. Now what we learned last time on this obstacle is I need to set the camera down. Pulling onto it pretty easily. Now I need to get that ledge. There we go. And straight up and over without issue. Well, until we get there and get hooked on the links. There we go. Another pass. No failure so far for the 1905. And our last obstacle, the gravel hill climb. A pretty good test of loose surface traction of a tire. Sorry, I had to itch my face. We'll start with about 40% throttle. Ooh, that's doing pretty good. Can we get up with 40% throttle? Haven't halted forward progress yet. Might be calling it right there. Well, all right. That's the first tire on camera to make it to the top without having to go full throttle. So, how about the GMade 1905? Good showing on the rocks, good showing on trail surfaces. Really a good showing all around. $25 a pair, $50 for a set. Now, I do think that if you buy these, you're going to want foams, and we'll talk about that in just a second. So the foam that comes with the GMade 1905 is a very soft single-stage open cell foam. And it serves the tire well in a couple areas. We can get a lot of conformity on that tire to grab the edge of rocks and pull us up on it. But we lose a lot of side hill capability, and I think it bags too much for some obstacles, for like steep inclines. So with this tire, I'm going to put a dual stage foam in this. I'm going to probably put a 3D insert in it, because I think I still want it to be pretty soft, but I want to gain some lateral support. So we're going to try a SL3D insert, maybe a Three Brothers insert. I'll see what I have laying around. And we'll run this again in the future and see how it does. As of now, I highly, highly recommend this tire. That was a very good showing. That did a lot better than I thought it would. That did better than the Duratrax Fossil, which is the daily driver kind of baseline tire for this rig. It did that course well. And in fact, I'm going to put the 3D inserts, or the dual stage foams. We'll see what I end up putting in it. I'm going to put those in it and run it again. And this could be a new baseline tire for Tire Rack. I really like the way it performed. I like the way it looks. I also want to get it on a wheel that has a wider offset to gain that track width on the truck back and see how it does. Overall, I'm very happy with the GMade 1905. I recommend the GMade 1905. The compound is soft enough to do well on the rocks, but not so soft that I believe it's going to get torn up. I think this would serve you well on the rocks or trails. It did good climbing. It did good on loose surfaces. Yeah, get yourself a set and see what you think. Have a good one.